Thank you, President Officer. The cost of living is hitting hard for people across Scotland, and John Swinney promised to help. So what did he do? Well, he's cutting income tax, but only for some, and by a maximum of £31.75 per year. That works out at 61 pence a week. That wouldn't even buy you a bag of peanuts. John Swinney's budget might even...
It's your tax cuts.
Let's carry on with
Rachel
our business.
Hamilton's entirely right. It wouldn't even buy you a bag of peanuts. John Swinney's budget might even have broken a world record, because a Scottish Government tax advisor says, and I quote, that it may be the smallest tax cut in history. Does John Swinney really think his insulting tax cut will actually help Scotland's struggling households?
First Minister.
I'm pleased to see that the additions for the pantomime dame are being entered early by Rachel Hamilton in Parliament today, because that was frankly pantomime stuff from the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party has come forward with a proposition about tax cuts which would involve £1 billion worth of cuts in public expenditure, with not a scrap of detail about how that would be delivered. So that is a false proposition. However, my government has brought forward a range of measures which build on the existing cost of living support, such as free prescriptions, free eye tests, the free bus travel that's available in Scotland, with an expansion of support.
Can I just ensure that we can all hear one another? That would be helpful and, of course, necessary. First Minister.
With an expansion of support for breakfast clubs and additional investment in after-school activities, by the measures that have been taken through the Extra Time programme, by the increase in the Scottish Child Payment and the expansion of the Scottish Child Payment for babies under 1. And what that's a demonstration of is a government that is on the side of the people of Scotland, and I'm proud of the measures that we've set out in the budget on Tuesday.
Russell Finlay.
John Swinney gave these taxpayers a miserly cut, not to help anyone, but to get a cheap and easy headline. And for many others, income taxes will rise even further.
Hard workers, teachers.
And one of the reasons for John Swinney's tax rate is so that he can spend even more on benefits. Now, we value the safety net for those in genuine need. But the SNP'S benefits bill is out of control, and it's now going to go up by another £650 million. I'll keep saying it, no matter how noisy they get, Scotland can't afford this. The Scottish Conservatives believe that taxes can't keep rising in order to fund higher spending on benefits. So why doesn't John Swinney understand that his reckless approach is unfair and unsustainable?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, nobody in Scotland takes seriously Russell Finlay's claim that the Conservative Party values the safety net of social security, because every week they come to this Parliament and attack social security expenditure that's keeping children out of poverty. Now, as a matter of fact, the updated Scottish Fiscal Commission forecasts show a substantial reduction in the Scottish Government's benefits investment over and above the block grant adjustments received from the United Kingdom Government. That demonstrates that the action the Scottish Government is taking is sustainable and is, as demonstrated by the budget that we have put forward, as we have always undertaken since we formed the government. We bring forward costed financial programmes that are delivered for the people of Scotland, that deliver real benefits for the people of Scotland, and the Conservatives are unable to match the record for financial stewardship of this government and the support for the vulnerable in our country.
Russell Finlay.
We value social security, but we will always tell the truth about the SNP's out-of-control, unaffordable benefits bill. John Swinney's economic approach is ruinous. There is another way. The only way, responsible, credible and sustainable way to raise more revenue for public services is by growing Scotland's economy. And you achieve this by supporting those who create jobs and generate wealth. Yet Scottish businesses face tax rises of almost £300 million in the coming weeks. And their verdict on John Swinney's budget is damning. CBI Scotland calling it a missed opportunity. UK Hospitality Scotland saying it missed the mark spectacularly on business support. And the Federation of Small Businesses saying that ministers must urgently reconsider their approach to economic growth. So when will John Swinney learn that he's got to back business, not attack business?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, I recognise the challenges that are always felt in the business community. I think of all the things I could be accused of, I've always been a member of the government who's had very close and active dialogue with the business community in Scotland. Now, the Scottish Government's budget for the forthcoming financial year will ensure the lowest basic property rate since 2018-19, and it will support business and communities with a package of reliefs worth an estimated £864 million in 26-27. That's before I get to the fact that one of the key asks from the business community was about increased support for the college sector. And the Government has increased the college's budget by £70 million in the budget. And another call from the business community is support for infrastructure investment. And we set out our plans on infrastructure. And yesterday, the Transport Secretary...
Let's hear one another.
And yesterday, the Transport Secretary told Parliament about the delivery of the plans to dual the A9, one of the central economic pledges of this government. And at a time when unemployment is lower in Scotland than the rest of the United Kingdom, where GDP per capita has increased at a faster rate in Scotland than it has in the rest of the United Kingdom, this government delivers for the Scottish economy, and we're going to carry on doing so.
Russell Finlay.
He says he recognises the challenges facing businesses, but then decides to make them worse. For the avoidance of any doubt, the Scottish Conservatives will not back and cannot back a budget that does nothing to help Scotland's workers and businesses. Delivered by a Finance Secretary who's running for the hills, it hammers people with higher taxes to fund a bloated benefit system. It's absolutely mind-blowing that Labour and the other so-called opposition parties will let this SNP burach of a budget pass. It's a desperate budget that kills aspiration. It's a damaging budget that harms business. And it's a dishonest budget that will need to be fixed within months. It's the same old John Swinney. Don't the people of Scotland deserve lower taxes, fairer benefits and a government focused on economic growth?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, our budget delivers on the priorities of the people of Scotland, strengthening our National Health Service and supporting people and businesses with the challenges of the cost of living. In this budget, the Scottish Government is expanding the best package of cost of living support anywhere.
First Minister, sorry, I do know, Mr Kerr, that you share my view that we should always carry ourselves in a very parliamentary manner. I'd be grateful if you might demonstrate that, Mr Kerr. First Minister.
Presiding Officer, this budget delivers on the priorities of the people of Scotland, about strengthening our National Health Service, about supporting people and businesses with the cost of living. Thanks to our decisions, 55% of Scottish taxpayers are now expected to pay less income tax than if they lived in England. The people of Scotland have a government that is on their side, and all the current indications show that the people of Scotland want to have this government here for the long term to stay on their side.
Question number 2, Anna Sarwar.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. John Swinney's 19th budget lacks ambition for Scotland, and it fails to deal with the structural issues created by this tired SNP government. They can only be resolved by changing the Scottish Government in May. Now, while he brags about his £6 a year tax cut for the lowest paid,
Let's hear Mr. Sarwar. Let's hear Mr. Sarwar.
While he brags about his £6 a year tax cut for the lowest paid, 1 million Scots, including nurses, teachers and police officers, face being forced to pay more, all while his government wastes billions. A tax cut worth 11p a week for the lowest earners, while thousands of nurses pay £400 more and thousands of teachers pay £600 more than they would in the rest of the UK. Even his own tax adviser says this is a political stunt. So why does John Swinney believe that someone earning £33,500 has the broadest shoulders and therefore should pay more tax in Scotland?
First Minister.
If I could explain to Mr Sarwar that a Band 6 nurse at the bottom of the scale will take home an additional £1,994 after tax compared to the same band in England. A qualified teacher at the bottom of the band will take home £6,365 more after tax in Scotland than the equivalent in England. So there are the facts for Mr Sarwar. For a Band 6 nurse living in Scotland will take home... Mr Sarwar asked me about nurses, and I'm giving him an answer about nurses. A Band 6 nurse at the bottom of the scale will take home an additional £1,994 because they live in Scotland, not England, and a teacher £6,365 more in Scotland than in England. That's because this government delivers fair pay for public service workers.
Anna Sarwar.
Presiding Officer, John Swinney very deliberately focuses on the lowest band and ignores the thousands of nurses and teachers that are paying more tax here in Scotland. So while 1 million Scots face paying more, this 19th John Swinney budget doesn't even try and deal with the issues leading to billions of pounds being wasted and opportunities squandered. No plan to deal with delayed discharge, meaning taxpayers pick up a bill of £500 million. No plan to deal with Scotland's prison system, while people pay £1 billion and rising for the new Barlinnie in Glasgow. And no plan to grow Scotland's economy, costing us £800 million. All of those things can only come about with a change of government in May. And he can't solve the big issues he has created. But
Let's hear one another.
But there is an urgent new one that risks the future of thousands of businesses. Why has there been no pause to business rate re-evaluations, meaning many businesses face a 400% increase, far greater than any rate relief, and risk their survival and the loss of thousands of jobs? Why has there been no pause to those re-evaluations?
First Minister.
I notice that Mr Sarwar has moved the subject on from the tax position of teachers and nurses, because I have completely demolished the arguments that he's put in front of me today. Now, on the subject of business rates, the business rates position, of course, is a product of two elements: the independent valuation that is undertaken and the policy decisions taken by this government. So the independent valuation, which is agreed across Parliament, has taken its course. But in policy terms, this government has put in place a 15% relief to retail, hospitality and leisure premises liable for the basic or intermediate property rate in mainland Scotland. We've expanded 100% relief for retail and hospitality and leisure businesses on our islands. We've maintained the small business bonus scheme, and crucially, we have put in place a business rates package of reliefs worth an estimated £864 million in this forthcoming financial year. That is the government investing to support business, to support the economy, along with a range of other measures which I hope Mr Sarwar will support in the budget.
Anna Sarwar.
Presiding Officer, in the words of his old pal Alec Neil, he's talking rubbish, because he's failed to deal with the serious question of re-evaluations.
Let's hear Mr Sarwar.
Re-evaluations that see some businesses being forced to pay 300% or 400% higher, risking the survival of those businesses, but he completely ignored the question. Now, the one bit of good news is that Scots don't have to put up with his failure for much longer, and in May they can choose a new government. Because the SNP have spent the last 19 years...
Sorry, Mr Sarwar. Somewhat noisy. Let's hear one another.
It's OK, we'll say cheerio to Shona Robison in 4 months' time too, because the SNP have spent the last 19 years failing to deal with the real issues facing Scotland, and they have nothing new to deal with the crisis created on their watch. Nothing to deal with hundreds of thousands of Scots stuck on NHS waiting lists. Nothing to deal with drugs deaths emergency killing hundreds a year. Nothing to deal with the homelessness crisis that leaves 10,000 kids stuck in temporary accommodation, and nothing to help businesses, wages or the economy grow, and nothing for the thousands of our amazing young people missing out on the education they deserve. John Swinney has had 20 years. He's had his chance and he's failed, hasn't he?
First Minister.
I don't think today is the day for Mr Sarwar to be in a strong position to accuse me of talking rubbish.
Absolutely.
Because this morning, a campaigner, a health campaigner, has raised the fact publicly that she has requested from Mr Sarwar a formal apology after a campaign leaflet, which I have in front of me, was posted to thousands and thousands of homes around the country with a false quotation in support of his party in the leaflet. And the campaigner who was falsely quoted asked a fair question. If they've written that out of nowhere, what else have they lied about? So I don't think Mr Sarwar is in a position to say to me anything about the budget, because not only has he misled the public in a campaign leaflet which a member of the public has called out, Mr Sarwar is wrestling with reform to try to get into second place in the opinion polls this morning. Mr Sarwar knows that it's all over, it's finished, the dream is gone, he's in opposition and we're going to stay in government.